I'm Paul Barrett, CEO of Run Resources. We have a tin copper project in the DRC currently drilling.
Good to see you, sir. Right, we saw the news this morning. Thought we'd get on the blower with you. Okay, what can you tell us with regards to these drill results? What does it mean, and what do you do next?
Yeah, this is the first two holes that have come back in terms of the assays back from the lab. So we thought it was worth putting these out. These are relatively shallow borehole intersections. But the really interesting thing is that they're very wide tin intercepts. So we're in that transition zone that we always talk about, the model being a kind of a San Rafael model where it transitions down from copper through to tin at depth. So we're still, at this depth, we're still in the tin copper transition zone with quite a lot of zinc. There is actually quite a lot of copper, but we can talk about that secondarily. The prime focus obviously is the tin. So these two holes have encountered 30 to 40 meters of overall mineralized zone, which is very good. I mean, if you think about Alpha Min's mineralized zone, it's effectively they're mining from 9 or 10 meters of the zone. So this is substantially bigger. And what the model is driving us to do now is drill deeper. So essentially, we know that there's a 30 to 40 meter zone which can accommodate or is accepting tin mineralization. And you can see that quite nicely. And as we go deeper, we hope to basically fill in the gaps with tin mineralization and get more and more. So that's the forward plan. Forward plan is to drill deeper holes. We've got 3 rigs on Mont Agoma at the moment, so they're all ready to go. And we're cashed up from the fundraise that we did with Stanbic just before Christmas. So we're in a pretty good position, actually.
Okay, can I just sort of clarify sort of terminology? Okay, so you talk about a transition zone. Is it giving you what you expected? Were you sort of aware that this was going to happen? Because sometimes companies come on here and they will use language like, "Oh, we had technical success," which means nothing. So here, transition zone for you is like, we knew we'd encounter this, but maybe because of what you see next door with your
Yes.
neighbor. So how do we read this when it comes to further drilling that you're going to be targeting?
Well, if you look at the various scenarios that we could have had, I mean, with this drilling result, had we encountered thin, high-grade zones, we'd have struggled to understand how we can get a lot more tin mineralization at depth. But because we're in a wide zone, still with a lot of copper, that was still thermally relatively shallow in the system. So going deeper, that copper will hopefully be replaced by tin. And therefore, we end up with a lot more tin in a big wide zone. So that's kind of the game plan, is to go deeper.
Right, okay. And deeper, you mean how deep?
Yes, I mean, when I say deeper, it's still nowhere near as deep as Alpha Min had to go. I mean, they go down to a floor of about 600 meters. So we, at the moment, we've got on maximum 200 meters. We are on a topographical ridge, so actually it's quite interesting that we can come down the ridge and drill deeper without drilling excessive amounts of rock to get there.
Right, okay. And you obviously, like I say, you raised a bit of money before Christmas. So kind of cast up to be able to do some of the things you're talking about today. But where will that money get you through to this year in terms of whether it be the drilling or other activity, and why is that the right thing to focus on?
Well, there's two things that we're doing. Like we're continuing this drilling, and I think on Mont Agoma, well, let me just backtrack. Kalai is almost complete, so we have a couple more holes to drill there. So we're kind of closing in on an obvious breakpoint there where we can then do a resource assessment. On Agoma, we've got these extra deeper holes to drill, and so therefore it'll take a little bit more time. But I can't see it going much beyond the end of March. So it's only Q1 going into early Q2. The story is the drilling. We are doing some additional geochemical sample soil surveys around and about. So, that's just kind of looking at what next in terms of the next drilling campaign. But I think if we can close off the Kalai drilling and this phase of Mont Agoma, come up with a resource, we'll still have a lot of money in the bank to continue the next phase, whatever that looks like.
Right. And how are you reading the sort of tin market at the moment? We had the Reuters metals correspondent, Andy Home, on recently saying that last year was a little bit flat, and maybe this year will be too, but general trend is up. Is that reflecting? Is that reflected in the conversations that you're having, certainly with money raises, but also with your shareholders?
Well, I think everybody's very supportive and very understanding that tin is a long-term positive story in terms of the market. 30,000 or so, it's kind of it seems to have reached a kind of a stable point there. Longer term, of course, obviously, if we go into production, it's going to be longer term. The longer term, the signals are still very, very good. So I think shareholders understand that. We had conversations with potential investors at the one-to-one in London in November. We're having the one-to-one, the Cape Town version of it, next month. It'll be a different set of conversations. Obviously, we're not talking to investors for money. We do not want to have any further dilution. We're now talking to partners, so larger companies coming in, etc. So it's a different set of conversations, which I think is really positive.
Right, and the general expectation is that, this might be Alphaman 2.0, but to do that, you're going to have to, deliver data into the market, which says that you know how to do that, and how you kind of, stage that data coming into the market. So, perhaps if you can give us a little bit of macro in terms of how you intend to kind of build this company up and where the kind of growth profile and growth, more importantly, to the valuation comes from.
Yes, well, the growth to the valuation short term comes in the Mont Agoma deep drilling, if I could call it that, and also the Kalai resource evaluation. So that's the short term tangibles. Longer term, we then look at, once we have a resource, we look at the size, we look at how we can expand it. As I said, we're doing further peripheral GChem work to look at expanding. So, it's expanding the volumes of tin and copper, and potentially zinc, although zinc is certainly a tertiary commodity for us in that respect, due to its fairly low price. But we have a huge amount of zinc, so, swings around. It's definitely a tin and copper story, and that's what we're focusing on to add value to the business going forward.
Right. Okay. So the thing is tertiary, but it has some value in terms of recoverable payables. Yeah.
Product, okay. If we're mining, that's right.
Okay. So tin the focus. That's what I think you're positioning the company as. The copper is quite a nice bonus here. Well, I think copper prices creeping up, sort of sitting around 440, I think. So, which is also good news. What do we expect from you in 2025? Because drilling can be a kind of it can be exciting, but also equally can be quite boring if it's kind of the same old. So, how do you help people understand how to value you, or how do you help people understand what the process is, how long it's going to take, and what to expect from you this year, so perhaps don't get disappointed by the time it takes to maybe move into a kind of economic inquiry stage?
Yeah, I think I don't think it'll be boring. Because I think we've got a plan, we've got the rigs on the ground, we are getting after it, and so there will be continued news flow, and we are looking, and that is going towards getting the resource numbers, which is where you're going to get the tangible concept of the value of the project, and then where you may be starting to get more interest from industry coming in. So it's difficult to put timelines on everything, but we're definitely working as hard as we can to get these resource numbers out and on both of these projects, and that's the value creation point, I think, for this year.
Okay, and when do we see more drill results from you?
We're hoping that Kalai, we just got in overnight some numbers on Kalai, so we need to analyse those, put them to Dion and these guys in Johannesburg, in South Africa, and maybe this time next week.
Okay. Well, I'll see you then. Glad it's all going well, and
I was going to say, in the meantime, it's drill, baby, drill.
Don't you start it. Okay. Well, look, Paul, as always, great to see you, and obviously, and great to see the project moving along. You've got the money to do what you need to do, so maybe we'll see you next week.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Matthew.